Good evening. Welcome to News Channel 8. I'm Jerome Aegean, and in top stories tonight, a man was extradited from Virginia after eluding the police for over 6 years. News Channel 8's Wes Small brings us this story.
Last night between 6:30 and 7 o'clock, detectives from the Virgin Island Police Department escorted 29-year-old Sean Gerard from Monbijou here to Henry Wilson Airport, where he was placed into custody for first-degree assault. And on December 17th, in the year 2002, allegedly, Sean Gerard stopped a vehicle in the Salt River North Shore Road area, where he grabbed a gold chain from the driver's neck and then shot him before he fled. The 33-year-old victim went through emergency surgery as he was shot in his upper left arm that left him since paralyzed. So the leading authorities for these 6 years has been Sean Gerard, who then got into an altercation that involved a crime in Virginia. Virginia authorities had him in custody, and then via the law network, Virgin Island detectives found Mr. Gerard. So again, he was brought into the territory last night at 6:30, and then he was advised of his rights by Judge Francis Duramo just a few minutes ago. Interesting that right before that, we had a fire alarm that had rang out earlier this morning, but it was nothing like that electrical fire that we had here several months ago, so the delay was just a few minutes. Judge Duramo took a brief recess as he was going through some defendants' cases, and Sean Gerard looked very calm. He was very polite to the judge as he answered the questions. Sean Gerard's mother was in court, and up for discussion was her Monbijou home, and also the fact that Sean Gerard would be placed in his mom's custody, placed on bail for $100,000, and that home in Monbijou will be assessed by the courts here today. Representing Sean Gerard is Public Defender Toussaint, and she argued the case for her client. Representing the people of the Virgin Islands, Prosecutor Dawood. So now you're caught up, and it does look like Mr. Gerard could be free on bail today, that under his mom's custody, and from her putting up her property in Monbijou. So now you are caught up on this case. Sean Gerard, after he eluded Virgin Island authorities for 6 years, is now back in custody. Reporting from Superior Court, I'm Small for News Channel 8.
In other stories, the report card for the Virgin Islands school system is out, and it's not favorable. Here's News Channel 8's Lee Carl.
The government of the Virgin Islands Department of Education has put out what is called a 2008 Territorial Report Card. Now, the annual report does show 15% of schools making the grade, only 15%. And Dr. Laverne Terry, who's the Commissioner of Education, took to the microphone, and she outlined some of the guidelines so far that have been met and some others that haven't been met. And while the numbers sound dismal, there have been some bright spots. But in addition, the scores are now being benchmarked against higher goals. So here's the commissioner as she spoke about that.
In 2004-2005, we're very young at this, and I want to emphasize this, that in the states have been at this for quite a long time, and the work that has been done in the territory thus far over a short period of time is extremely impressive. Therefore, our students here must meet the proficiency levels in the territory by the year 2016-2017. This means that all students and all groups of students, including Black and Hispanic students, students with disabilities, and limited English proficient students, are expected to meet or exceed the academic proficiency standards and meet the attendance and participation targets also that are established by the department. This is indeed a challenge, but it goes to the heart of one of the department's main beliefs, that all means all. We have to address the needs of all students and provide all students with rigorous instruction and relevant learning opportunities. So how do we know if a school is making progress towards meeting AYP? NCLB requires each state to develop proficiency targets that schools and districts are to meet in order to determine if progress is being made. We must continue to adjust these targets upward which means that we have to raise expectations for students' performance. This year, the target increased by over 15 percentage points. For instance, in 2006-2007, in order to meet the third grade reading target, only 22% of the students had to meet or exceed the target. However, this past year, 2007-2008, 37.6% of the third grade students had to meet the target. This is a significant increase. That target will remain for this school year as well, and then after that we have to move it up again. Mr. Thomas here will have a chart that he can share with you to show how the target will continue to increase. And you will see when we look at the results that the increase in the proficiency targets was one of the key factors that impacted overall performance and whether or not a school made AYP. Unfortunately, for the 2007-2008 school year, the territory saw a decline in the number of schools making AYP. This year, 5 schools made AYP, compared to 13 schools that made AYP in the previous year. Remember that in order to make AYP, schools must meet specific targets for reading, mathematics, attendance, and participation. And all students, including those in our NCLB subgroups that I mentioned before, Black students, Hispanic students, students with disabilities, and students for whom English is not their first language, all of those students must meet those same targets. While not making excuses, I want to emphasize that the Virgin Islands is not alone in our struggle to have all students perform at high levels and to have our schools make AYP. According to an October 20th, 2008 edition of the National Education Association newsletter, it stated that in virtually every state that released AYP results this school year, the number of schools failing to make AYP has increased dramatically. And in many cases, that number of schools failing to make AYP has tripled, even quadrupled. And a major factor impacting those states, just like it impacted the territory, was the fact that we have to raise the proficiency level. And though this is a significant factor, though, I want to point out that there are several other factors that impacted whether or not a school made AYP. For instance, the size of a school is a major factor in determining AYP. There must be at least 30 or more students in a tested grade or in a subgroup in order for the results. What I'm saying to you is that the results this year are not what anyone wants them to be. However, it should be a wake-up call that it's time for us to wake up and shake up the system, not for the adults, but on behalf of the students in the territory. So as we look to the future and we come forward to the community and to the schools and to the unions and we talk about making the change, we're asking for partnership in this, but to make it clear with no uncertain terms that change must happen. If we're going to make our students the world-class students that we know they're capable of being, then that means we need to create a world-class school system for them to be educated in.
In St. Thomas, Lee Carl for News Channel 8.